Now, if you had someone come up to you and straight up like, "Hey, Derek, like, I'm getting into this. I have all the good gear. I just got a new kayak. You know, I got my new rod, my new reel. I've been bait fishing my whole life. I want to get into this side to where, like, hey, I want to start fishing artificial. I want to feel more rewarded when I'm like, you know, I psyched that fish out. I caught that fish. I fooled him. What's a good way to start? What's a good all-around bait you would think to start with to get someone started into fishing this?
You know, I think if I could honestly only pick,
if you had to go to Walmart, if you only had Walmart, where would you go?
You know, I think I would just stick with a simple, either jig head or weedless jig head on a paddle tail.
And I was about to,
I mean, you can cover, you know, whether it's 10 inches of water or 10 feet of water, technically.
Depending on the weight of the jig head.
You know, depending on the weight of the jig head and tide and current. But, you know, you can cover all your bases with nothing but a jig head and a paddle tail.
So, and here's what's crazy part. This is the most simple way of fishing, and I think this is the most effective way of
Very
fishing.
productive.
I mean, this is, I'm not going to lie to you, like 3 out of my 4 rods have this in the tournament side. Like, not this exact bait, but like a paddle tail.
A paddle tail.
Like, you can work this as, I feel like, as a shrimp. You can work this
as a bait fish, as just
even a crab.
You can just slow roll it.
Yeah.
You can twitch it. You can do so many different things with it.
It does a lot of things in one. So like a lot of people do it because it's very versatile.
It is.
You know, you don't have to have 10 rods in
nope.
the boat. Like,
you can have one with a 16th ounce weedless. You can have one with a 1/8 ounce. You can have one with a 1/2 ounce heavy open face jig that you can you can.
So I'm going to show you guys right here. This is pretty much your standard. 3.5, 4 inch swim bait.
3.5, 4 inch paddle.
This is actually by Slayer Inc. This is the Houdini. This is actually a very good bait.
I like natural color baits.
So that being said, this bait you can just like steady swim it, which is you just reeling. You know, and then you can use it as a jerk bait. You say just popping it every so often, or dragging it on the ground. Whatever.
Put it on a heavy jig, a light jig. You can do so much with it.
So this is what we're saying. It's just a simple paddle tail will do a lot. It'd be very, especially in the springtime when the snook come back out. If you want to learn how to really catch fish on artificial,
you can catch
snook
anything
fishing.
you want, inshore wise, snook, trout, redfish on a paddle tail.
And that's so you would say.
I don't care what time of year. I mean,
you're catching it.
Summer to winter, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
High tide, low tide, you can catch anything on a paddle tail.
And this is what you mean, jig head. This is actually weedless. I mean, I always throw weedless. I feel like.
I throw a lot of weedless. I do throw a lot of open face, but.
Now, I like these, and this I also want to explain to you. You know, you have your standard Texas rig.
Yep.
And you have something like this.
Yep.
They're both weedless. I personally like this better than Texas rig, and the reason why is where the weight's at.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So, like, you know, you like...
I use a lot of belly-weighted, you know, weedless style, but I use a Z-Man, and I use a Mustad 1/8 ounce 3/0 with a little keeper on the front.
So you're belly weight, so Texas rig mainly.
I'm belly weighted,
So that's cool. So like he's mainly that, I'm mainly this. So why is it different? So people all ask times it's weedless. So yes and no. So like this is gonna make the bait sink different than what he has.
Different presentation.
So his like a belly weighted hook. I don't think I have any, but really it's like a hook, and literally the weight's in the middle of the hook, and when you pop it, it more floats, almost like floating, like a shrimp.
Doesn't do the head down.
It's very effective
too.
For shrimp too. Like this one is more like a stick bait. Like you have those darts, Little Johns by Mirror. When you pop it, this thing's gonna go straight down and the tail's gonna stick up.
And then straight back up.
Yeah.
When you pop it.
There's different ways. I like these. A lot of people like what he does, and what you like doing. It's really effective in shallow water for sight fishing because like it's gonna get less grass.
I think it's the most weedless approach that you can
by
have.
far. Yeah, by far. Now. That's the other thing I want to get into. So, we got your standard bait. Like, this is probably the best effective way to catch fish, especially if you're starting off. The main question now is, I get it every time, is the colors. So, the colors. Now, I tell people when they come in, and this is honest, like, I think the most neutral base color is the most effective color in the game. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're fishing clean water, I don't think you obviously want to throw something that it's just like so loud, like something like this. You know, don't get me wrong.
I stay away from that bait 99% of the time.
Right, and the reason why it just don't look natural.
It don't look natural to me.
So why does natural baits look good in the water? Why would you think?
You know, I would assume it's just kind of matching the hatch. You don't see lime green, you know, pinfish or shrimp running around. Now there are some creatures out there that maybe have some blues between your
Who
crabs
knows, right?
your whatnots, but I've always picked natural colors. But it's funny, like my suspending baits, I like a gold and black. Now there's not much out there that's truly gold. Now I'm sure it's just a little bit of the flash. But
do you like throwing gold in sand? You think it just looks good? Like
I will throw gold and black suspending bait anywhere I go.
Anywhere you go, okay.
Is
it more of it like just like a confidence thing for you?
Yeah, I tell everybody. So everyone's always like,
everyone has their color.
I need that bait that you're throwing because you catch a lot of fish on that, and that's not always the case. You need to stick with what you have confidence in. I use I use a lot of Z-Man paddle tails.
Why is that? Just because?
I honestly, it's confidence. It's what I've been using for 8 years, 7, 8, 9 years. I have confidence in it. I literally use probably 2 colors, both natural colors, a pinfish and a breaking brim.
Pinfish is,
you can't beat them. Yeah. But I think it comes down to confidence. Now, I tell everybody, that's not taken away from any other bait. I think you could.
No, not at all.
I think you could give me any paddle tail that at least has decent action. I'm not saying you might not find some generic thing that doesn't, work very right. But I think you could give me a Slayer, a mirror lure, any kind of paddle tail you can find out there for the most part that at least has somewhat decent action. I'm going to catch fish on it.
Right, and that's crazy because a lot of different manufacturers, Slayer, DOA, Z-Man, no matter if they look very similar, somehow they always move different.
Yeah,
they all have their different rhythm, which is crazy. I always feel like the one that looks the craziest. I mean, realistic because that's the less work you have to do on your side. I want to get into that because when you're throwing all these different baits and stuff, and I love how you said do something that you're more comfortable with because that's true. A lot of guys get intimidated when they see things on the boat. Some guys will see some crazy things, and you're like, oh, I should be. Is that why you call it? Because, you'll go to the boat ramp, and they'll be like, dude, how was your day?
Yeah.
Dude, I killed it. I mean, 20, 30 fish.
And you're like,
first of all,
wrong?
is he lying? He looks confident.
Half of them are lying.
I'm looking
Let's just get that out there.
And I'm looking at his stuff, I'm like, that's what you use? Yeah, man. Like, I'm telling you, man, it's good. So then you, go back, you're like...
Now you're at the store.
I'm starting over.
You're buying things.
Go with what you're confident in.
Yeah.
Because, it works. Like, dude, there's bait... Like, Louisiana, I guarantee you, and I'll put all I have on it, every boat in Louisiana is going to have a different bait.
Oh, for sure.
Every boat is different.
It's funny, especially Louisiana. So, I can fish pretty much any Florida tournament besides take Jacksonville away where I do throw a couple different things. But you can literally give me a weedless paddle tail and a suspending bait.
Right.
And an open face paddle tail.
Right.
Anywhere in Florida, and I can literally take that setup and not change a single thing about it. Yeah. Now, Louisiana, I make a few minor adjustments, but very few. But the same thing in Louisiana. Every time I go to Louisiana, I'm I bring this box of tackle of I might want this, and I bet them, there was aggressive fish would just, inhale this thing.
It's almost like you want to go there.
And and I have all this stuff where I'm like, oh, they would eat that, and they'd eat that so good, and that's going to be phenomenal.
Right.
And then I get out there, and I start fishing, or I can literally fish Louisiana with 2 or 3 rods and never change a bait my entire life.
Nope.
I throw a spoon, a paddle tail, and a popping cork.
Yeah.
And I bring in this big box of stuff that I'm like, oh, they're going to love this. I don't even use it.
No.
Because I just resort back to
what you throw.
What I'm comfortable with in Louisiana.
I can't tell you how many times I have 4. I usually have 4 rods, and then my partner has 4 rods.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times I have
4 rods and
I use the same one.
One.
I'll retie it too.
One day.
It's like, I wanted to use that, but man, it's just working so good. That's the
I go to Louisiana, you have all these different things like I was just saying, and I'll usually bring 6 rods when I go to Louisiana because I feel like I never need them. But one, if a buddy or something needs to borrow 1 or 2, I have a couple extras. And if something happens to 1 or 2, you have extras. But, really, I can fish all day in Louisiana in a tournament, and 2 rods.
2 rods.
All day. I'll have 6 rods rigged up with these different things and this different that. And, I've gotten to the point now where I'll actually have, 2 of everything. So now I bring 6 rods for Louisiana, and I'll have 2 paddle tails, 2 spoons, and 2 popping corks. That way, if something happens,
you're ready to go.
I don't need to grab and retie or redo something. And but literally, this last time in Homa, I touched 2 rods for an entire week.
I was the same way.
A spoon and a popping cork.
Yeah.
And that's all, I sight fished them with the spoon, and I was blind throwing with the popping cork, and that's all you need.
And what's crazy too is like, what he's saying with, oh man, I can use this color, this has to work, for over there. I almost feel like those fish go off like vibration or sound.
The Louisiana fish are definitely
they're not the same.
Just because it works in Louisiana does not mean it works anywhere else.
Like something like this, you're like, no way. I would never throw this, to be honest with you, like anywhere here. Maybe trout or something.
Trout fishing or.
But like, this is like prime. So my partner Travis, he used this. This is the only pouch that he had because the water was cloudy, if you remember.
It was dirty.
But you can see them. They float. Yeah. Almost on the edge.
You just get a little. Just a little hints of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this was his go-to. I mean, and it's crazy. And I think mainly, yes, they see it, but it's also like they just go off reaction when stuff falls off the grass.
I had a lot of luck with a spoon in that dirty water because I think you get just that little glance of flash.
Right.
And they just hone in on that little,
So, that being said about when we're saying sound or whatever, like Steenhatchee back in March for the ones we just did, I used a bait, and it had just pretty much all it was. It was like almost like it had that Elastec feature.
Yep.
Had a blade in the back of it.
Yep.
And I was catching like 4-1 with like Travis. And like at first we're like, dude, it's the same thing. I'm throwing a similar dart style bait. But why are you like? I mean, it's literally 4-1.
Yeah.
We probably boated 20, 30 fish. It was like on a Wednesday. I remember we got there on Wednesday, and we were just having fun the first day because the next 2 days we weren't fishing because the weather was like real bad.
Yep.
So we had a great time, killed the fish, and I was using that bait. And literally it's like a stick bait with a blade on it. You can make them yourself, honestly.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, so I was throwing the watermelon, I think it was, and then he was just throwing your standard, like he was throwing a Seville, I think, like just the normal twitch bait they had, and like again, it was 4-1. He was getting he used to hate these baits because I would talk so highly about them, and he's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Long story short, like that bait had like I think 20 fish on it, and it's still good. It's very good hardy bait. But that being said, like I think it was the blade, the reaction, the vibration. That's the reason why they caught it. Crazy part is he gets it 3 casts, he hooks his biggest fish all day, and he's like, whoa. And it's a lot of times, sometimes you want to use their stuff that you're comfortable with, but if something's working on the boat,
if something's working,
and you don't want to do it, but you're like, I know mine. It's like more like a confidence thing, but like. Just do it. Sometimes it works.
Even like somebody, me and Eric